My name's Shelly Laws. I'm a Chilkat weaver. I am Dachdaintan, Kagwantan Yeti, British Yeti, and I'm from the Snail House. I'm a Chilkat weaver, and I have been fascinated by the Chilkat weaving for many years and studied it in the museums. By the time my sister got old enough to start learning the weaving, Grandma was teaching her how to weave spruce roots, and I was still doing moccasins. And it was a time when natives were not being natives. So many culture barriers died, and so many of the young people were encouraged not to learn the cultural things. Somewhere in our 20s, everybody started thinking about weaving. And I was in Anchorage, so there were no classes and there were no mentors and no tutors. There's a robe here in the Anchorage Museum. I would come here about every week and stand there at the glass and looked at that piece, read every book I could find that was written on the subject. And 6.5 years later, I learned how to weave. With Chilkat weaving, there are two different elements. There's the material that's hanging down, the warps, and then there's the pieces that you're working with, the twining pieces that you're making your patterns with, and those are your wefts. Now, the warp, the material in the warp, needs to be very, very dense. So the way it was done and the way I do it, you take 2 pieces of wool and 2 pieces of the cedar bark, which has been boiled for a day. And once it gets soft and you can feel it's spongy, then you can just sort of work it apart, and then it sort of frays out. 2 pieces of this and 2 pieces of your wool, and you put them on your leg, and then you spin them down, and then you ply them back. Now, merino is a really nice fiber, not as fine as mountain goat, but that said, coming up with mountain goat is very hard. I can maybe on a good day do 10 yards in an hour, so it takes a lot of time. Chilkat weaving is not done on a loom. It's done on a frame. There's no tension on the warps. It's all just free hanging. And then you do 2-strand twining, which takes a piece of 2-ply yarn. You take and double it over, and you just do every ply. With Chilkat weaving, you have the opportunity to go back and forth. So you can fill in areas. When you're plying with your weavers, the pieces that you're working with, you twist it between each warp or each hanging down piece. And as you do it, you're twisting it. So you're putting a little bit of twist on your yarn. The old robes were done with yarn that was spun backwards from the way commercial yarn is spun now. In order to do Chilkat weaving and have it come out anything close to what you're seeing in the old pieces, in the ones in the museums, you have to get as close to the materials as possible.